Hello everyone, I'm Chloe Johnson and welcome to this Fresh Business Thinking COVID-19 webinar series supported by BT. BT Skills for Tomorrow aims to empower businesses and their employees with the digital skills to help grow their business. The Skills for Tomorrow website includes free learning content that small businesses and their employees can access at any time on topics such as connecting with customers on a mobile, making sure your customers can find you online, and much more. To find out more, you can click on the link in the comments. Coronavirus is continuing to be a challenge for small businesses and entrepreneurs across the UK. The outbreak leaves an overwhelming uncertainty into the future for business owners, but this is a time when as a business community we need to come together and support one another. And we're lucky enough to work with organisations and individuals who are passionate about supporting entrepreneurs during this difficult time. One of those is our speakers today, Hannah and Sophie Pycroft of Spectrum Collections. Spectrum Collections is an e-commerce business specialising in brightly coloured makeup brushes and most recently cosmetics. The company was set up in 2013 by sisters Hannah and Sophie, selling colourful products worldwide from Sophie's garage in Barry, South Wales. The sisters have secured collaborations with Disney and Paramount Pictures, as well as retailing their products to 400 boot stores. Today, Hannah and Sophie will discuss how to ensure that digital strategy and brand communication are empathetic and of the moment, whilst still encouraging consumers to shop. Hannah and Sophie will be talking for around 30 minutes and then we'll have some time for Q&A. If you do have any questions, you can leave them in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen and we'll do our best to get to them later on in the session. That's all from me for now, and I'll pass over to you, Hannah and Sophie.
Thanks, Chloe. Hi everyone. We just thought we'd put the camera on because from personal experience of lots of different web conversations over the last 4 or 5 weeks, I find it's easier to concentrate if I can see someone rather than just looking at a blank screen. So here we are.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We just thought this webinar was kind of something that we can really add some value to, and being an online brand, and we've predominantly been an online brand since we started. As Chloe said, we are in Boots and Superdrug stores, so we do have some retail presence, but primarily we sell direct to customers on our own website, and the brand was, we always say, mainly founded through Instagram, to be honest. So social media is where we kind of thrive and focus a lot of our time and energy, so we just wanted to jump on to kind of give you some tips as to what we've been doing across our own platforms, and feedback, some guidance and information that we've had from other business mentors, just to kind of help keep being engaging and kind of sympathetic online while still trying to function and run as a business, really.
Yeah, I mean, what we've kind of been reading about and what's been fed to us from various different business channels is the fact that at the moment customers are very much, you have to be really, really sensitive. So what we've been working on, we've put together about 8 points of stuff that we've been doing as a business just to make sure that we are relevant really at this time, because there's nothing worse than right at the beginning when everything started kind of taking hold, I suppose, I had a couple of emails and brand communications from other companies that were either really, really good, or there was a couple of really, really bad ones. So one made me feel really guilty if I didn't buy something, and one made me feel really positive at the kind of potential of buying something and also giving my support to a small business. So we kind of saw this right at the beginning and realised that brand tone of voice is more important than ever before, really. So what we've tried to do across emails, social media, and on our website, they're the 3 main ways which we communicate with our customers directly, is just to be really sympathetic to the situation that we're all in at the same time, really. So obviously there's a huge human cost to what's happened. But equally to that, well, not equally to that, but, the forefront of our focus as a business has been the business cost of what's happened. So we need to speak more so with our consumers now than ever before, primarily because our biggest accounts are Superdrug and Boots, both of which have stopped ordering right at the beginning of the problems, didn't they, Han?
Yeah. Their orders, they're probably about 50% of our business in this, what I have been for the past couple of years. And straight away, as soon as it kind of reached the lockdown stage, and understandably so, they've restricted their warehouse intake to only essential items like medicines and more personal care items rather than makeup brushes. So I mean, in the initial instance, we were pretty concerned because obviously that's a massive chunk of revenue that we're not going to be able to have expected into our business. So what we've kind of done since is just focus all our attention to online, because I think it's something around at least 20% more time consumers are spending online. I know a lot of us are all working from home still, and we're still able to work from home, which is really fortunate. But for those of us who are potentially on furlough or aren't able to work from home, I think it's understandable that a lot more people are spending time online. So what we've kind of done as a brand is focus our energy and attention to just the online presence, really. So being as people are spending more time online, obviously you do want to be seen, but as a brand, like Sophie said at the beginning, it's more important now than ever to actually communicate with your customers. And one thing we're having an understanding of and seeing more and more is that if, as a brand, you're seen to be communicating that you're either raising awareness of a charity or raising awareness of fundraising or just offering random acts of kindness during this time, I know it's very uncertain at the moment, but when this time has passed, those random acts of kindness and the kind of awareness that you're instilling in people as a brand now will still continue to resonate with people once this time has passed. If you are able to, I think that's really important to bring awareness to.
Yeah, definitely. What we've discovered is a lot of brands, including ourselves, have got, these underlying values that make a brand unique. So for us, those underlying values we're communicating even more now. And what is brilliant, if yourselves as business owners have got these brand values in place, if you can stick with them and keep them consistent and keep that at the forefront of your messaging, what's really, really good for consumers is you are true to your brand. If your brand stays consistent throughout all of this, then it means that you're not just adapting it to be, it's not a kind of like fake, it's seen as fake to consumers, it's seen as very transparent and reliable, really, because that's what consumers are kind of edging towards, more so than marketing or really driving towards sales. What we're trying to do as a brand, and what I think it'd be really good for other brands to do, is look at what those values of the brand are. So for example, ours have always been vegan and cruelty free, joyful designs. So we're putting a big emphasis on the fact that buying something online, even if it's a non-essential item, will still give you that kind of little pick-me-up, which is really, really important for everyone who is at home at the moment. And I know I feel that way, that if I get something nice in the post, it does make you feel better, even though it might be quite brief. It's still really important. So we are kind of using that message, and that's been consistent for our brand from the beginning. And also one that we're focusing on at the moment, which is kind of there all the time, but people do forget, is the fact that everything, if you're 100% behind your product, which obviously you will be, people want to know why. So for example, ours are really, really good quality, and a lot of people are looking for quality now, because they don't just want to spend their money frivolously, they still want to invest, really. So we've been highlighting our sustainability and the fact that we're vegan and cruelty free, the fact that we do bring joy as a brand, so we'll help kind of be, when our boxes arrive, they do make you smile, and also that it's really, really good quality, so consumers don't feel like they're wasting money for a fleeting moment of happiness, really. It's not throwaway products. We are stuff that we want the consumers to keep. So I think it's important to emphasize the fact that you're not going to be encouraging people to waste money. You want people to spend money well. So that's what we've been doing, isn't it, Han? Focusing on things like that, just because
Yeah.
we see now at the moment, with everyone being online more, it's a great time to discover new brands, but it's also a great time to really educate people about what your brand is about. So highlighting as often and as frequently as you can, and as clearly as you can, really, things like those brand values is going to be really, as you know, something that you can do for free just through marketing on your website. So for example, we've done things on ours like add a little tab, an extra tab at the bottom of the website that's going to be on our sustainability efforts. We've got blog posts on there, and we do quite a lot of Instagram stories just to highlight these, because people just like to, I think the more times you kind of repeat the message, the more people will remember it. And we want people to come out the other side of this remembering your brand and what you stand for. And now is a really, really good time to get those messages across, really.
Yeah, especially with tools that are obviously easily accessible to everyone, and with more people spending more time online, simply just using Instagram stories a bit more than you potentially normally would, rather than just posts, because more people are likely to engage and view your stories, and they might not necessarily see your post due to the algorithm or depending on time of day. So if you are able to share to your stories, even if it's just popping on and showing people the face behind the brand or the business, I think now more than ever people are really craving that personal interaction. So we've kind of been trying to do, I mean, we said we'd go live every couple of days, but obviously you are still trying to run a business, so it's quite hard. But even if you can just dedicate once a week to going live, and you don't have to do anything specific, you can just have a chat with people, because people will tune in and comment, because people just want to have conversation and have that personal connection. So it is a really good just really simple tool to jump on, and even if it's just to educate people about your brand, like Sophie said, or your core values, it's really, really good. And you can obviously do joint lives as well, so whether or not there's a like-minded business that you want to have a little chat with, or whether you want your customers to request to go live with you to have a one-to-one chat, it's just a really, really good time to be more personal. And I think people really appreciate that, because that's something we've always tried to do. For the first 2 years while we were in the garage, we didn't reveal ourselves. But now, now we have revealed ourselves. I think what we've seen as a result is people really respond positively to when we kind of put ourselves out there and we chat to our customers, because people just like that personal engagement, really. And it's a free and easy to use tool that results in a lot more engagement and a lot more brand loyalty, really.
Yeah, we get a lot of, people just want to be nosy at the end of the day, that they're stuck inside their own home, and everyone craves a bit of the outside world. So I noticed when we went live, whatever day it was, Hannah, on our birthday on Tuesday, we had more viewers than we had done previously. So I think that's because people are gradually becoming more reliant on their phones. But what we've tried to do as a brand as well is really make sure our content is got a light and positive edge. I feel at the moment everyone gets all the kind of the seriousness that they can. I mean, there's only so much news as such I can kind of take in a day, and I think people are looking to brands, and they're looking to the internet, and they're looking to Instagram for that kind of light edge. Whereas I know at the beginning, when it all started happening, a lot of people were posting, asking people what they wanted to see. We did the same, but I do think the overwhelming response is that people just want their little escape on the internet to remain very much the same. So lightheartedness, we're putting extra content out there that isn't aimed to drive sales, but it's aimed to kind of help this feeling of community that people are looking for online. So we've done things like quizzes, but a lot of the time a simple question box, a Q&A kind of thing where people can feel connected is really important at the moment. So yeah, I just think one thing that brands should all be doing with their own best interests really is just becoming more sociable throughout this, because people will remember it when we come through the other side. And also we're seeing maybe 100% more visitors on the website. I think overall this month our website visitors were up 144%. So it just shows you that people are on the internet looking for content. It might not reflect in things like Instagram following. I mean, for example, ours hasn't really grown throughout this, but engagement has been really high. So it does translate to us the fact that people are really engaged in this content. And I think, as people are going to be shopping online more when we do come out the other side. So what you don't want to do is be forgotten about. So I think online content at the moment, you can't have too much. We thought at the beginning, maybe, we don't want to flood people's feeds with stuff. So we are posting on the feed only 3 times a day, which is the maximum we would ever post. But stories are just a never-ending source of entertainment for people at the moment. So one thing we've tried to do, as we've mentioned, is not make them all about sales, but about brand engagement and making sure people know what your brand stands for. But we have put some, shop to buy, and we've had a lot of subtle kind of, even talking about your core values as a brand, the fact that if you're going to talk about what good quality your products are, you are still encouraging people to make a purchase, but in a much more subtle, way that is better tone of voice for the moment, rather than saying, oh, come buy it because it's on sale, it's going really cheap. And we've got promotions on at the moment, but we're not really shouting about them as such. We're just letting consumers find them for themselves.
Yeah, I think if you are able to offer some kind of discount or code, or even if you put a sale on a small amount of items, I don't think at the moment people would see it as insensitive. I mean, a lot of people are kind of in a financially uncertain situation at the moment, so disposable income isn't as readily available as it has been. But I think the fact that brands are able to offer codes and offer discounts and savings is more appreciated by the consumer, rather than being seen as insensitive. Because if, like Soph said, I've treated myself to a couple of things online just purely for the fact of having it delivered and having a little pick-me-up. So I do think consumers are still shopping, and they are still looking to treat themselves. So if you are able to kind of give them a bit more of an incentive or a saving, I think that goes a long way. And obviously, we all still want to run a business at the end of the day, and we need to make sure that we're still able to pay our bills. So I think if you are able to do that, then that's really appreciated. And one thing that we have seen is, in terms of product messaging, obviously you don't want to deliver a massively hard sell to consumers, but what we've seen is consumers are more engaged in products that offer comfort or wellness or even safety. So for example, we've kind of done a bit of a drive on our brush cleaning soaps from a personal care and a hygiene perspective at the moment, which is a really hot topic for everyone. And we've just done this in terms of Instagram Live and demonstrations and showing people how to clean their brushes. So it's still engaging because it's more of a tutorial that people are interested in anyway. And it's something we get asked a lot about: how do I clean my makeup brushes? But at the same time, we've been using it as an opportunity to really shout about the quality ingredients in the products. So depending on what your business is, it's a nice time to, it goes back to what Soph said about talking about your core values as a brand. But if one of those values is really high quality ingredients, I think people are really interested now more than ever, and they're more aware of what they are purchasing. So if you can reassure them that the product is, really well made, the quality ingredients, or even if it's like an amazing candle that just helps people to relax, like it's just a really good time to shout about your business and sing your praises a little bit about how much effort you put into sourcing the quality of ingredients for your products. And people will appreciate it. And I think now more than ever, consumers are more conscious about what they are buying. But I know from what I've seen just on my own personal Instagram, people are more keen to support independent brands and businesses. So I do think now is the time to shout about yourselves and celebrate your own products, really.
Yeah, we did a bit of research into it might be a really good time if you have the option to, you've got a bit more time, the research that we've done most recently into our own customers, and you might actually learn something new and want to try something, test some kind of new marketing while you've got this kind of opportunity with everyone being online. Is we discovered that our consumers are not just beauty lovers. They love interiors, they love fashion, they love all these kind of we've realized that it's very much a lifestyle brand rather than just a beauty brand. And that might be the same for a lot of people's businesses who are listening in. Then you might sell one product, but consumers are actually interested in a multitude of things around that. So it just gives you a bit of variety of what to talk about, and really help your brand positioning. But also what we've kind of come across as a fact when we've been looking at our consumers is the trust that you can build with consumers just by being quite educational when it comes to how you talk about your product. So if they learn something new about your product, say I'll just use Hans' example, say it's a candle, but you use a certain type of wax for a certain type of reason, like some natural wax as opposed to like a paraffin wax or something like that. When customers learn something, they automatically build a level of trust with the brand, and they will kind of retain that. And then to have a trustworthy brand is really where the value of your brand will be for the long term. So it's not just about selling lots of product and making money. It really is about brand longevity. And for a lot of businesses at the moment, I know they're seeing the value of the business is in the brand, not just in sales. So what we've been working on really hard is all of our communications, just to make sure that they are really thoughtful in terms of what we're saying. So it's a nice mix of being lighthearted, but also something factual or a little piece of information that consumers can take away. And even if it's just something simple like how to use a brush a certain way to do your eyebrows, people feel almost like they've achieved something because they've learned something new. And a lot of people are trying to learn something new during this time. So like Hans said, it's the absolute perfect time to put out product information, brand information, and be a bit more personal and reveal, things like why the brand was started and how it was started, because people are very curious to know these kind of things. So it might be a blog post, it might be an Instagram live, it might be a series of stories, but I think there's an opportunity to make engaging content there that consumers are going to engage with, and then hopefully, even if it's not an instant purchase, they will return when we're kind of through.
Yeah, and I think like we mentioned earlier, I know a lot more people engage with video content more so than just stills, which is why it's really important to, when you're planning content for your online marketing, to have a mixture of the two. And like you said, stories or going live on Facebook or any kind of video interaction is much more engaging. And then another easy thing that you can do on Instagram is utilize the stay at home buttons. So if you go to post a story, that's my personal one, I think. I can't remember, but you can use the Instagram stay at home button. Mine's not letting me do it actually, or is it? Yeah. So it's just, I don't know, like this one here. So if you add that to your stories, it'll automatically get added to the Instagram stay at home collection of stories using that button. So your engagement and your views on that story in particular will be much, much higher, which is a really easy and free way of reaching more of a mass audience. So even if you just share one post using that sticker, it's a really easy and free tool to use to reach more of a mass audience, because obviously with more people spending time online on their devices, now is the time that if you do have any marketing spend as such, to focus it on Google or social spend. And one thing that we've also done, because like Soph said, we've had like 140% more visitors to our website, is our website is run on a platform called Shopify. So we've installed a free app that we've put on the checkout, so it only shows to new customers, and it just asks them where they found us. So for us at the moment, the biggest one is Instagram, but interestingly, the second biggest response is recommended by a friend. So it's just a really good time that if you are seeing an increase in traffic, to kind of utilize the free apps that are out there to try and collate a bit of data from your customers. And it's not in an obtrusive or annoying way, because I hate it when I've got to sit through a really long survey. But it's just a really interesting insight that gives you, real information from your customers, and ultimately will help you kind of shape where you spend your, if you do have a marketing budget, where you spend that budget, where you focus your time and energy on which platform. And for us, I mean, we'll probably look to do more customer rewards for referring friends of the brand. So it's just a really good, easy tool to utilize. And it's a good time to do a bit of market research while people are on their phones. So whether you do that on Instagram stories and just do a couple of polls. Q&As, polls, market research. It's just a really good time to use while your customers and your followers are such a captive audience. It's just a really good time to switch on to that.
Yeah, and the other thing that we've been doing with our own personal, not our own personal Instagrams, the brand Instagram is, feeding into, going back to what we said right at the beginning about the kind of core brand values. With so many businesses and so many people and so many organizations kind of coming together to do something really positive at the moment and help other people, that's something that as a business we can't really ignore. And I feel like we took a little while to kind of figure out what it was we wanted to do to help without it looking like we were just jumping on the bandwagon and doing something insincere, because that goes against what we're trying to do at the moment, which is really, really bed down those values as a business and make sure they stay as consistent as possible throughout, forever, but especially at the moment. So what we've managed to do through kind of conversations that we started earlier in the year is team up with a charity that have been kind of very interested in us for a little while. But so it's not like new because for the sake of it, but it's something that we've thought about and considered over the last few months. But we've teamed up with a charity called the Aspinall Foundation, who are a conservation first charity, because we started to see, there's loads of stories in the news about people doing amazing fundraising things, and we started to feel as a brand that we weren't living up to our value of trying to spread joy and be a happy brand, because we weren't actually contributing to this. So we thought, well, we want to do something but make it meaningful to us. So what we've done on our Instagram, which is where we've basically been marketing it, is created a special discount code for customers so they can save 15% on anything on our website by using a special code, which is Animal15. And what we're doing as a business is looking at what that code has generated in terms of sales by what people have saved. And we've pledged to donate that to the charity. So it's a nice way for us of giving back, but actually encouraging our customers to spend and put something in their basket, apply the code, they make a saving, so they're happy because they appreciate that, and they do get that real sense of positivity, because we've communicated what they save we will donate. So I wonder if Han can just share our Instagram feed.
Yeah.
Just to show how we've been communicating really what we've actually done. So we started it on Tuesday, I think, with that post there.
Yeah, that was Tuesday. So it's the caption's quite lengthy because we've kind of explained as much as possible in there, and then we've also kind of used the carousel feature to kind of just detail how you can use the code, how much you'll save, and that we'll donate what you save to the charity. And then as a result of that, each day at the end of the day of sale, because the sale's running for 6 days, so we've been focusing on a specific animal each day, and just sharing kind of a bit of factual information with customers, and then teaming that with some kind of light-hearted pics that will just brighten up your day a little bit, really. And in turn, we're obviously helping to donate to the charity, but we're also raising awareness of them. So it might be that customers don't make a purchase, they don't use the code, but they see the foundation and they think, I'm going to go and pay a visit to that charity once I'm able to, and lockdown is relaxed a little bit. So it's just a really good time if you do have a fund or a charity or any kind of initiative, even if it's kind of running a giveaway for frontline workers. People just see that type of interaction, and it's the type of stuff that will really resonate with people. at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, we did start with doing, you know, a nominate a key worker and we'll send them something nice in the post, which we will probably do a little bit more when we start running this kind of promotion / charity drive. But we just didn't want to do everything all in one go, really. But yeah, I think if you can't necessarily raise funds because it's difficult for everyone at the moment to do so, you know, what we've done is also, even if you just highlight a charity that you want to support, if you post a story, there's also a little button in there that says donate. So instead of just selling to people and making sure they use this code when they check out on our website, we're also promoting the fact that you can click this button and donate directly. So we're also raising funds that way. But there's no reason why, if there's a charity that you as a brand feel connected to, you can definitely promote that on your Instagram and probably on Facebook as well, on your social platforms, basically. And just using the donate button will kind of, you're helping support them, but also I feel that it does strengthen the brand values if you are trying to be a brand that a lot of young consumers and millennial and Gen Z consumers look for, something a bit more active rather than just, you know, you kind of have to be doing a little bit more these days, I think, to actually be a standout brand.
Yeah, and one thing that I found quite shocking but really interesting that Sophie pulled is, I think it's from the RSA, that their research suggests that only 7% of consumers actually want things to return to the way they were in terms of shopping and consumer habits. So obviously people are happy to just commit and spend and shop online. So that just really resonates with us, because obviously more than ever it's so important to have a digital presence and a strategy, which is why we've started to utilize the kind of questionnaires on the website so we can really understand exactly where our traffic is coming from. Because obviously we've got like Google Analytics and stuff, but it's just such a simple way to get your customers to kind of confirm exactly how they found you. So yeah, I think now if you do have any downtime, it is a really great opportunity to kind of start implementing a bit of a digital plan, really. If you do work with influencers as a brand, I think they are kind of, from what we've seen, I've seen a lot of big influencers asking fans to submit smaller brands that they would like to support. And now more than ever, obviously, like we said, the audience is more captive and more engaged. So if you are looking to, even if you're looking to try out influencer marketing, we don't invest in it heavily. We normally use it for new launches. And we have launched a product since we've been in lockdown. So we just launched it online, and we used influencers to help with that. And I do think it had a really positive effect in terms of product awareness, not so much in terms of followers, but it definitely helps raise awareness if you are launching a new product, or if you just want to get your brand out there a little bit more. I'm sure there's probably a bit of negotiation to be had in terms of what you can get for your money at the moment, because people are being really creative with their content because they're having to make content at home. So I've seen a lot of people set up like makeshift backdrops if you're selling clothes or like apparel, really nice flat lays. As long as you've got good natural light, that's kind of all you need. We've been doing quite a lot of stories, making content from our dressing table, doing kind of live makeup looks. So I think it's a good time to be creative with your content, and people aren't gonna judge, because obviously we're all staying at home. So yeah, I think it's a good time to kind of explore a couple of different digital marketing opportunities, really.
Yeah, what Han said. No, we've seen a really big uptick in our earned media value this month, from where we have engaged influencers to help us launch our latest collection, which was actually a makeup collection themed around summer. So to kind of change our communications around that, what we did was really encourage people to use their time indoors to practice makeup. And you know, if you've never done a bright green eye, now is the time to do it, because you don't have to be afraid of what people on the outside will think. And really, I think that's given people a really positive they see it as an opportunity to try and learn something new again, which is really, really important at the moment, to make everything feel like an opportunity for someone to achieve something rather than just selling things. And that messaging worked really well, and we have had so much content as a result of that, of people tagging us in really colourful makeup looks, but also just saying how much they enjoyed doing it, really, because it is a little bit of a luxury to be able to spend half an hour doing your makeup. So that's one way that we launched a product but put a kind of lockdown spin on it, really, is the fact that we did encourage people to just have a bit of fun. And I think that worked for us. But I think now maybe we'll just take some questions, in case there's quite a lot of them. We obviously want to try and answer all of them, so that would be what we can do for you guys now, is just see what you want to know and hopefully give some more meaningful answers, really.
Thank you both. That was filled with some great advice for our audience. We've had a lot of questions come through, so let's try and get through as many as we can. The first one is from Lisa. Did you both have experience within the beauty industry before stepping into this field, and what was your past experience?
Neither of us had beauty professional experience. We both came from a branding and marketing background. So what we were doing for years before starting our own brand was working for other brands, basically creating brands. But we were doing it in the fashion and beauty industry. So that was our experience, really. So it's as kind of brand owners, we've managed to do it through just really strong branding. And again, that's why we keep referring to the brand being the value, because it really is. Obviously, as consumers, we all want great quality, but I think from our perspective, brand is most important, really.
Yeah, we neither of us are makeup artists or have even worked on counters, or no. we when we started the brand, we used to take the products onto set when we would be doing photo shoots. So we would ask the makeup artists to give us like honest feedback, and in the first instance it was quite brutal, and they said that loads of the brushes were absolutely pointless and they wouldn't use them on set. So we
learned quickly, didn't we, Han?
Yeah. We had to revise it, but it was honest, constructive criticism which we took on board and changed the range.
Yeah, and since then we've got makeup artists who work for us and stuff like that. So Han and myself are kind of like the brand leaders, and we've got a team who help us develop the products, and we're the fustiest ones. So if we don't like it, it doesn't get launched. But that's why we've kind of harped on about the quality, because as consumers we never had much money to spend on like luxury products. So we never wanted to invest our 30 quid weekly wage when we were doing a paper round into something that we didn't think was going to be any good. And that's why quality has always been such a big thing for us as well. But speaking about that, we actually wrote recently quite a lengthy post about us on the website as part of our communication for our consumers, so they can really get a sense of the background of the brand. So there's a lot on there. If you want to have a 20-minute blog read, then feel free.
Okay, the next question is from Mark. How do you manage working with big brands like Boots and Superdrug whilst also selling direct?
It's a toughie. It's a really big, when we did launch with Boots, our entire sales were direct. So to go to a meeting with Boots where we could pull up a slideshow and show them that we'd done over 1 million in direct sales, they were that's what got them chomping at the bit kind of thing. But interestingly, it has become a bit of a conflict now, because we've got 3 competing businesses, really. So we've got our direct sales business, which has to remain a focus, because without that, as a business right now, we wouldn't be existing. So we always have to remember that direct sales are, completely important. But then we do have the wholesale side of business, which is about 50% of our turnover. So we have to kind of be a bit of a balancing act. And a lot of the time it's the bane of our lives, isn't it, Han? It's never, ever going to be easy, because they each want the best for themselves, whereas we try and retain the best for ourselves and try and basically appease them. But it's getting easier. We've been doing it for a couple of years now, but you have to really be strong enough to push back if they try and take the mick. If they try and ask too much, you just have to say no, because what we've always said is we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. because that's the worst thing you can do, is make promises on delivery times or, you know, what you can actually deliver on, because you're better off right at the beginning saying I can't do it, rather than saying yeah, sure, no problem, and then not coming through, because you might not come back from that.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing. Like, don't be afraid to push back, because they do try and bully you, because ultimately they're thinking about their business and what they want. And obviously Boots and Superdrug are competitors, so they don't want any SKUs or products that the other one has. So obviously that affects us, because we have to allocate spend to develop completely new products that are exclusive to each store. So it is a bit of an ongoing kind of management. It is a battle, isn't it? It's a bit of a nightmare, but at the same time, it has been really, really good for the brand and building the brand, because people might see us in Boots, have a little, you know, look at the brushes, and then it might just resonate with them and they'll convert online later, or they might buy them in Boots and then they'll come back to us directly, because we stock different sets to what Boots and Superdrug stock. So then they might treat themselves to a more expansive set on our website, whereas they just picked up a single foundation brush when they picked up their shampoo and Boots. So it's kind of it's an ongoing battle, but it is also a really good opportunity.
It's a good challenge, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's good for building trust in the brand more than anything else. So
yeah,
I feel like if people see it on the shelf on Boots, even if you don't make much money from your Boots account, the margins are extremely tight, it's still good for brand awareness and building brand trust, which, if you're looking long term in the value of your brand, is really, really important.
The next question is from Anita. How much time do you allocate each day to driving your online presence versus the business operations? What is your daily routine to drive online presence?
Well, at the moment, we're doing more to drive our online presence. What do you think, Han? Maybe 3 hours a day?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even when you're just making Instagram stories or posts, it takes so much longer than you think it does. And obviously you want to get the setup right and the shot right. And what we try and do is, if we're going live on Instagram, for example, we'll probably take the time to do a couple of stories to post after that, or we might do our makeup and make it into a tutorial so we can create extra content. But I think it's probably between 2 and 3 hours at the moment. But what we use tools like Hootsuite to schedule posts as far in advance as we can. So then you spend a couple of hours planning out, say, your weekly content, but then once you've done that and you've done that few hours, then it frees you up then for the rest of the day, so you're not having to scroll to find content to post. So I think that's a really useful tool and a habit to get into, is if you plan your weekly feed, it's a really good exercise.
Yeah, it depends how much you can plan in advance, really. It might be that you can't really do that and you do want to spend a couple of hours a day on it. But I do think it depends on what kind of business you've got. I mean, our Instagram we see as our shop window, so we do put a lot of time and effort and resource into it as a business. But it depends, because, well, we can see from our Shopify back end that we're actually getting customers from that, and the same with our efforts that we put into Facebook. So it depends how important it is for your business, but I do think a couple of hours a day should be designated to driving your online presence and just improving the quality of what content you're putting out. Because if you're going to spend 10 minutes on it and only make half-assed content, you might as well not bother. You might as well spend a couple of hours on it, make it really good, visibly, and thinking about what the content actually is. Otherwise it's a waste of time.
The next question has come through anonymous. How do you find the line between being personal and also keeping a distance with customers? I find it difficult to get involved emotionally, as I found that people often take advantage.
Yeah, we've had instances of this, to be honest, haven't we, Han?
Yeah,
a couple of times, because people do latch onto you and they do think they're your friend, even though you've never met them and you might not even know their real name. You only know them by their Instagram handle. And I think we haven't really got the answer, to be honest. You just have to try and not reply to them if they're DMing and messaging and stuff like that. Definitely never give them your phone number, because I did that once and that was a mistake.
That was
but yeah, you do feel sorry for people if they're selling you a sob story. And I've got a couple of people who email me every now and then out of the blue, basically asking for sponsorship from us because they're struggling and stuff. But I think the key is you just have to remove yourself from it. And Han's better at doing that than me, aren't you? You just ignore him.
I don't know. Like we, one of our other friends who runs an online brand said, because obviously we've all got personal Instagrams and then we've got the brand Instagram, and it might sound a little bit harsh, but I did kind of like it, to be honest. But she just said that when she gets people messaging her personal Instagram, asking for discounts or asking for freebies or what have you, she just has a blanket reply that says, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm managing Hannah's inbox. Could you please, for any brand inquiries, could you please direct them to Spectrum?" And then you kind of don't have to have that personal involvement of saying no from your own Instagram, or, you know, sometimes I just outright ignore people, to be honest. If they're pestering me or being obnoxious, then I'll just ignore them. And sometimes I'll hide my personal stories from them so they don't know that I'm posting, and it doesn't give them a chance to engage with me. I know that sounds really harsh, but
I think that's the only thing you can do, though. I've noticed if I have actually ignored the people who message me all the time, they do stop.
Yeah.
Eventually. They might pop up every now and then, but I think it's important to try and maintain a distance. And if people don't understand that you have a personal, you know, limit as to how many people you can actually communicate with on a daily basis, as opposed to what your communications are coming out of the business, I think they eventually get it, but it is tough.
The next question is from Sabrina. How much time do you invest in content creation? How do you manage being able to develop meaningful content without spending too much time to create it?
Well, we don't really do a 9 to 5, let's put it that way. I'm normally thinking about what content we're going to be putting out the next day during the evening. And during an ad break, I'll probably scroll Instagram and screenshot a couple of ideas. So I think more of the time thinking about what you want to create, we don't really get time to think about that during the day, because you are doing the operations and you are doing the running of the business. I'd say if you're like us and you're really passionate about your brand, then you probably do think about it in the evenings. And I think that's probably a really good time to think, put a little bit more thought into what it is you want your content to be. Because that is time that, you know, I enjoy thinking about it. It doesn't feel like I'm actually working. I can't actually help thinking about it. And me and Han might be messaging for an hour in the evening, just saying, should we do something like this? Or, you know, a lot of our team send us messages and say, oh, I've seen this, should we do something like this? And that's when you start thinking about it, really. But you could have an idea that pops into your head at any time, and it's immeasurable, really. I think we spend quite a lot of time thinking about it. That's why we put quite a lot out there. But it depends on how much capacity you've got to do so, really.
Yeah, and I think there's always things you can do to kind of help make it more productive. Like there's loads of apps that you can use to make really stylish looking Instagram stories, and you can do those really easily from your phone while you're watching your favorite program. Like, you know, there's an app that I use called Unfold, which is really stylish. I think maybe if you want to like purchase some of the like fancier, it looks like that. It's like flipped, but it's called Unfold. But yeah, that's like really easy, and then you can upload your own pictures and videos, and I just think it looks more kind of curated and more put together. But then there's also things you could do, like we work with a local photographer in Wales who does specific packages for e-commerce brands. So we've done 2 photo shoots with her since lockdown. We've just sent her products, sent her a brief, and then she'll do like a live WhatsApp thing with us while she's shooting. But as a result of that, she does half a day, and then we get kind of maybe, I don't know, 30 to 40 like really nice put together pictures that will create content for us for the whole month then. So I'm not sure if there's, you know, photography students or people who are kind of looking for something to do while they're in lockdown. People are really trying to get creative, so it might be a good time to kind of reach out to your community and see if there's people who want to collaborate with you to make content. And then that, you know, keeps them busy, gives them something to focus on, and also, you know, you're going to get content at the end of it. So I think it's a good time to be creative with your content and kind of ways to create it, really.
Yeah, and like Han said earlier, all you really need is good light and an iPhone. You don't need to invest a lot of money into it. We didn't invest any money in it for 2-3 years, really. It's just a case of making sure it's arranged nicely and on a half decent background.
Next question, which social media platform would you recommend to focus on from your experience to push sales? And is paid promotion worth it at the moment?
So for us, from the beginning and still, Instagram is our biggest platform, and I think it's a really good one to focus spend and time on, because you can, if you register as a business on Instagram, you can add the swipe up to shop links. You can, depending on the platform that you run your website on, you can link it into the product catalog, so you can tag products so people can click through and purchase them really easily on their phone. You can add trackable links, so you can link it up to your Google Analytics and like your website platform, so you can actually see the traffic coming through. So for us, Instagram is definitely the one that we focus on, but interestingly, Facebook is still a really good traffic source for us as well. And they're both completely different audiences. So, and they're Instagram and Facebook, because they're really easily linked, it's quite simple to kind of curate your content to post on both and give as much attention to both of them. But I do think now is a good time that if you do want to experiment with a bit of social spend, if you want to do boosted posts, they work. They're good for kind of an initial surge in views or engagement. But I think overall, if you're kind of creating ad sets that you promote across Facebook and Instagram, then that's a really now is a good time to do it, basically, because more people are online and more people are scrolling and seeing more ads and products. But yeah, for us, Instagram is the biggest one that we focus our attention on, and we do actually see that come through in terms of sales.
Yeah, it is closely followed by Facebook now, since we've been giving Facebook more attention, because we never really used to think much of advertising on Facebook. But I think Facebook is more a case where people are talking to each other in groups and people are very like communicative and stuff like that. So I think doing something for your brand, like posting a discount code into a group on Facebook, could be a really good way to get 20 or 30 people engaging with your brand, because I think they're all code sharers on Facebook. They love a discount code, don't they, Han?
Yeah, 100%. And I think people are more influenced by what we call micro influencers. So it might just be someone who's got like 3,000 followers, but their engagement is massively high, just because people really like their style or they appreciate what they say. So like So said, if you share a couple of codes in some Facebook groups, people will be chatting and sharing it amongst their friends and family, and it's just a really good way to be visible.
We've had a question in about fake followers and bots on social media, and I know that when we've worked with both of you before, that you've mentioned your social following from the beginning went from 0 to 256,000 followers, and not one of them was a fake follower or a bot. So what are your top tips for businesses that are wanting to grow their following?
Genuine and engaging content at the moment is key, really, but also working with influencers and people who are you want to get new eyes onto your social media accounts. But at the moment, there's not really a quick fix. We have seen very little growth on our own Instagram platform for quite a long time, and there's no reason for it, because we produce amazingly engaging, high quality content. But I think because there's so many people on the platform, it is really difficult to stay visible. So this is what we keep going back to when we're talking about brand consistency. I think what is key for an online platform, for people to kind of, when they see it, they recognize it and they'll hopefully follow it, is brand consistency in your imagery and consistency in your messaging, and staying engaging and staying social, really. And we always see that we get a bit of an uptick when we do a giveaway, because people love a giveaway with a like-minded brand, and it's a way of getting other brands to post about your products, and just getting new eyes on it, really. But I do think just having high quality content has to be the starting point.
Yeah, definitely. I think like Soph said, in terms of our own followers, in the past year, we've seen a much slower growth than we experienced when we first started. And I mean, we are talking 6 years ago, and I don't know how often Instagram changed the algorithm, but it's literally like the bane of our lives. Because there'll be some months where we just see followers like drop off massively. And then some months where we'll gain as many as we're losing. So you kind of stay in where you are, but you're not really growing. And I mean, to be honest, we do only really see a massive surge now when we do a giveaway. But again, those followers might drop off quite quickly because they're just in it to win it. So it sounds quite negative, but it's just quite hard at the moment, I think. And I do think we need to, consistency is key, like Soph said. So your content, your engagement, if customers and followers are commenting on your posts, do take the time to reply to them and give each of them a personal reply, because I know that Instagram does recognise engagement as kind of a factor to show your profile to more users. So it's just consistency all round is just massively important. But I mean, we haven't seen massive growth in followers for a while, to be honest. So we're just trying to maintain the engagement of the ones that are there, and in turn, hopefully through word of mouth and recommendations, then we'll grow organically.
Yeah, it's different for me now. If I see a brand I like, I don't necessarily hunt them down on Instagram. It might just be that I see someone else post about them and then I click on their profile and I become aware of them, but it still doesn't mean that I'm going to follow them, because it's quite saturated now. So even if you don't have loads of followers, it doesn't mean that lots of people aren't seeing your product, which is quite encouraging.
We've got a question from Alexander, who mentions about a startup brand. So this startup brand doesn't have many followers on social media. Would you suggest that they grow this following before selling any products?
Yeah, in a simple answer, I do think it's really important to have, and it depends really on what type of product it is, because if you've got a good website and a good logo, that is often the starting point of a good brand. But I do think people often will Google a brand that they've never heard of, and a lot of the time if I'm looking at some, like researching something, I will click on an Instagram page. So I just think it's an important part of product research. It doesn't necessarily mean that it means the product's any better with or without a good following. But I think from a customer research perspective, they want to see pictures and they want to see maybe other people engaging with the product as kind of like a way of recommendation almost. So I do think, not necessarily to drive sales, but for awareness and research perspective, I would say definitely.
Yeah, I think maybe it would be if you're able to kind of have a certain amount of product to do a couple of send outs just to generate a few more followers, and maybe ask them to share it on their own feed and give a review as a like in return for getting a product. That's what we did a lot in the beginning. We would send out brushes to bloggers and influencers, and we wouldn't they wouldn't charge us a fee and we wouldn't pay them any money, but we would just use their content and use their feedback to kind of promote the brands on our own platform. And in turn, if people see their photos being shared on the feed or on stories, it gives people a kind of a little bit of a pat on the back, and people love to be acknowledged on social media. That's why they're there, really. So even if you're just trying to grow your own following, just spend a bit of time searching like relevant hashtags to your business, and engaging with people who have engaged with that hashtag, because obviously they're interested in it, or it's something that's kind of on their radar. So even if you just comment on one of their pictures, it brings your brand to their attention then. So it takes a bit of time, but it's obviously just a quick and easy way of reaching new people.
And we've got time for one more question. Just off the back of that, we've had a few questions about pieces of advice for brands that are at the start and how to create a brand. And so is there any bits of advice for creating a brand at the start? Is there any examples of what you did? For example, any kind of written notes within parcels, or asking to share on social media, and what do you think is important about that?
Starting a brand is definitely hard, but I think what it comes down to, and what we've mentioned a few times, and what we've actually learned even more so recently, is that consistency is key. So you have to have, if you're going to have a website, social media, and product packaging, for example, all of that needs to be really consistent so that you're starting to build that brand. You know, and I think things like a certain color, a style of font, all of that stuff has to be really, really consistent. So that I think is the starting point of any brand. But tips for kind of starting up, really what we said is, we didn't start it thinking that we were going to make any money at the beginning. So we didn't actually go full throttle into just trying to make a brand and sell stuff online. We both worked for 2.5 years as freelancers and in like retail and stuff as well. So I think it's really important to have that, because you don't have to desperately try and create something. You can spend a little bit more time developing products and making sure that you're really happy with them. And, you know, I think it is important to be able to have a bit of time, rather than trying to make a brand super successful in the first 2 or 3 months, because the likelihood of that happening is quite slim. So
Yeah.
it is just important to really focus on making everything as good as possible, but having some kind of backup, I suppose, is really important when you are starting a brand, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, really, is the reality of things. So it depends if you are a freelancer. You know, we were freelance photographers and graphic designers. We were doing that right up until halfway through our 3rd year of business. So that's just reality as well, isn't it, Han?
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's just from the beginning, as quickly as possible, before you even launch your website or social media platforms. It's really, really important to have the brand visuals kind of really strong, set in stone, have a good logo, a colour.
What your brand stands for.
Yeah, your brand values, almost like key bullet points that you could easily translate onto social media, onto your website. It's kind of like an elevator pitch, like about your brand. It's good to have like a really short, snappy statement that you can make sure is clearly communicated across all the platforms. And like we said before, even if it's curating your content so it's really strong from the beginning as well, so you automatically look like a professional brand. Like when we started, people just thought we were an American brand. I think it's because we're so bright and colourful. It's not really something that the UK consumer had seen from the beauty industry at that time. So even if you spend a bit of time making content that you can post, and spending a bit of time curating a couple of quotes and inspirational things to post on your feed, it's just really important for the content that you're producing to be as good as you can possibly make it. And that just boils down to spending time and energy focusing on it, to be honest. Like Soph said, you can just use an iPhone and have good lighting, but I think mainly for us, because we came from a content creation and a branding background, that has always been like the backbone of why we wanted to start the brand, is because we knew we could do something different with it visually. So I think it's just really important to have the visuals and how your brand looks really, really strong from the off.
Consistency is key.
Fantastic. That's all we have time for today. Hannah and Sophie, thank you so much for joining us. Very sorry if we didn't get to answer any of your questions. I've put a link in the comments for Spectrum's Twitter page. So if you did have any questions you'd like to ask Hannah and Sophie, I'm sure they wouldn't mind you popping over there to ask them. If there is anything that you've missed in today's session, we'll be sending out a replay of the webinar on our social media channels. Our next webinar in the Business COVID-19 series takes place tomorrow at 2 p.m. and we'll be joined by Martin Newman as he discusses what being customer-centric means in post-coronavirus world and what consumer behaviour may change. If you haven't already, you can register for this webinar at freshbusinessthinking.haysummit.com, or you can click on the link in the comments. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you to you, Hannah and Sophie.
Thank you. We'll keep an eye on Twitter and get through as many questions as we can. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
Bye.